but advise him what will benefit him. And give in sadaqah if you have. Give in sadaqah. And making zikr. Like the Shaykh says in the Jummah, the best zikr, Yawmul Arafah, is what the Prophet ﷺ told us. What the prophets before him said and what he says. Try to memorize that. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. Or you say لا إله إلا الله أستغفر الله أتوب إليك. سبحان الله والحمد لله. Whatever you can, do this zikr. It's powerful. Brothers and sisters, I stop here. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. I ask Allah to bless this masjid, to give us tawfiq. May Allah reward the Imam and the brothers and those who are not here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarantee all of us Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Are there any questions? Well,
the ninth or the 10th day, the Eid of Eid al-Adha.
the Eid al-Adha is on the 10th day. Yawm al-Arafat, or the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, is the day that we should be fasting. And if you fast on that day, tell them, if you fast on that day,
if you fast that day, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Allah will wipe your sins for the next year and this year,
in the past year.
the past year, and the year to come, inshallah. No.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to answer the question you asked about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. You said, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he asked Allah if he can see Allah. Allah says, no. Allah says, Lan tarani, you cannot see me. But look at this mountain. If you can stand the mountain, you can see me. So when he look at the word of the mountain, Allah, His nur came to the mountain, His light. So the mountain, collapsed, crushed. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam fainted. He lost his mind, he fell down like he's dead.
Keep this going.
So no one sees Allah in this dunya. But when we enter Jannah, inshallah ta'ala, the last thing what we will see is to see the face of Allah, those who enter Jannah. Inshallah, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, I don't know if you understand the question. The answer.
Is only people, is it like Islam or some other religion, like Christian people that welcome us here in America, or Christian people, or Jewish people, or before, because Musa was for the Jews, and he's in the Jannah. Now, and we are Muslim. So, is this gonna be Jannah just for Muslim people, or is going to be Jannah? We're gonna be mixed up because of the deed, what we did, because of the rightness, because we have a clean heart, because of sincerity, because of because of being model in the society. Yeah.
No, this is simple. All the prophets, they brought one message. they all brought one message. Those who was following Ibrahim, those who was following Musa, those who was following Noah alayhi salatu wasalam, all of them, those who follow them, they will go to Jannah because they was believers. You understand? But this nation here, this nation, the last nation, anyone who don't follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is not following the teaching of his prophet. Understand? If they was following Musa, they was following Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, till that time, they following the right religion. After Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, he told them even himself, he says, Sayati min badi ismu Ahmad. There will come after me, his name is Ahmad. If he come to you, you follow him. That is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That is the last message. So anyone who live today, this is a nation which they're supposed to follow Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So the Shaykh can make it clear because he know English more than me. You understand?
So it is not give problem when the Christian now with Ummah of Rasulullah alayhi wasallam. This is not give us problem.
There's no problem in it. You know, it's up to you to follow the haqq. If the truth comes to you, la ikrah fi din. In Islam, there's no force. No one can force someone to say, follow this. The messengers, they bring two things, glad tidings and warning. Allah sent them to tell us what is good for us and what is bad for us. It's up to you to choose which way you want to take. Your job is to tell the people, is this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. It's up to you to follow. You understand? قُلِ الْحَقَّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Say the truth from your Lord, from Allah. The one who want to accept, he accept. The one who don't want, you cannot tell him to do it. It's not your job. Your job is to convey the message. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he made two things in this dunya. The most important, what Allah wants from us, is to believe in Him. That's number one. To believe in Him totally and to submit to Him. To do what He told us to do. You understand? To leave what He says, don't do this. This is the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He wants from us. If you do what Allah tells you to do, you become a believer. If you're very good to the people, you're nice, you know, you help people, you're kind, your heart is clean, you don't believe in Allah, Allah will give it to you here. Everything what you want, Allah will give in this dunya. But because you deny Allah, you deny the oneness of Allah, in Akhirah you don't have nothing. Because you didn't work for that. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Allah don't wrong us. Everything is here, is clear. It's like, okay, someone come here, he have a big company. He said, all of us here, anyone who wants job, make money, I have my company, come, I give you job. We all heard it. Some of us, we go there, we get the job, we start working every day. The other one said, no, I'm not going there. If you want, he give me. If you want, he don't. He's rich. He have everything. Did this person wrong you or he didn't? He wrong you? He offer you job, right? You accept the job. Islam is like the Imam says, it's transaction. Allah says, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ هُنَفَاءَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. They did not been ordered except to believe in Allah and worship Him, to be sincere, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make the deen only for Allah. So if we accept that, we accept. If we reject that, we the one who reject. Anyone who rejects the righteousness, you the one who reject. You cannot blame Allah tomorrow. Allah gives you akal, He gives you sense to think. You know, you do what you want. So it's on you to decide what you want for yourself. It's not on someone.
Thank you.
I hope I answered the question.
He has a question.
Answer.
Brother, you have a question?
Yeah, wouldn't it be safe to say that Jesus' true followers are Muslim?
Now,
Because I'm trying to identify Jesus' true followers.
yeah,
And I come up with they're Muslim.
no, that's right.
So now I get confused on that. Maybe if you can verify this at least. On the day of judgment, so I don't know exactly the hadith, I could be wrong. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the believer thing, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment.
Mhm.
You have the other hadith, and we always see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only in the day in paradise. Can you
There's no contradiction because you said the believers.
believe it, right?
It's same thing. If the believers will see Allah in, the day of judgment, if they will see Allah inside paradise, it's same. Because the believers will be in one part, the disbelievers will be in one part. They're not in the same group.
That's right.
So there's no contradiction on that. Same thing.
Two groups.
No,
Bad,
no.
good.
Yeah. Hizbullah, Hizbul Shaitan. The body of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, if you take a small break, 5 minutes.
Okay.
You guys, give you guys a.
Why not jazz? We need more.
Hey, yeah.
Go break.
Get something here to eat. Where you going? No, rice. Come on, man.
Rice.
Man. You could have that rice later. We know the people.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Take your time. You're on live, actually.
And like,
You're on live, yeah.
oh,
Live.
then you should make a stop. A pause or something.
Go back to sleep.
Hmm?
Go back to sleep.
When I wake up, you don't give you that. Oh, you should. It's okay now. It's okay. It's okay. Come on.
Oh, man. You're wide awake.
No, I don't know.
Hey,
Where
what's
was
this
you?
shit so
Where
you
did I
don't
lost
get
you?
to talk laundry stories? Okay.
Where did I don't know where I lost you. I don't hear you anymore.
You don't hear me no more.
I didn't. You was here, Sultan.
I got my ear.
Sultan. I didn't know he was here with the brother. You and your brother. He come to wake me up. No, you go outside. He tell you to go. And now I don't know if both of you are still here.
We're still here.
Huh?
It's snoring so loud.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I don't sleep. I didn't sleep at night, man, brother.
You can tell you to sleep.
No, I didn't sleep. Yeah, I didn't sleep.
And I thought it was sleep on the other side.
He could. I didn't sleep, man.
Oh, bro.
And as soon as I start to read, that's where I
This is the Gemara.
Huh?
Those books is to pass out.
Yeah, that's why he said $1 for each. He said.
Oh, is that right?
For donate. Yeah.
Yeah.
For donation. I'm just saying what the Imam said.
Oh, yeah?
Hey,
Okay.
you can have it, but you guys gotta put it down.
Yeah, that's not, that was no bad. Yeah. Let me see.
Hey, good.
I take a book and a pencil for John.
You are a
Give
good
me
student.
one. Huh?
Good student, take notes.
Hey.
I told you first today. You didn't come.
Not today, yesterday I was.
Yeah, yesterday you told me first.
I do one day on, one day off, one day
No, I
off.
know yesterday you told me first. I remember.
Try to do that way.
I know. I remember you told me I'm first.
What did you do? Trying to be like, you know,
Ah.
I need to go before
Where you
this
going?
resume the, I need to use the bathroom.
Did you fix your car?
No, yeah. The sister dog.
Yeah. You didn't fix your car?
No, he has not done it.
Well, the sister's on the other side though.
I want to better go use the bathroom.
Yeah.
The brothers that are starting a new masjid in East Boston need a lot of support.
New mosque?
Brother Muhammad. Yes, brother.
Where about?
From Egypt. It's on Parish Street, 28 Parish Street.
Oh, that's East Boston.
East Boston, yeah. I was there yesterday for Juma because he came and got me.
Oh,
You know, and you know, good little crowd of good brothers there.
well, there's a lot of Muslims live in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
East Boston and Revere
I
and
didn't see any
Chelsea.
sisters.
But
Chelsea
also,
and yeah.
it's all North
Plus, there's a
Africa.
thing on Putnam Street. It's a
Malden.
North Africa.
Monday.
So it's a
on
monster
Putnam
everywhere
Street,
now.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
gonna be a faith rally. You know, Muslims, Christians, Jews, all that. They're gonna.
No, that's
they
not
go- oh, I gotta
North
tell you,
Africa.
uh,
Even
man,
if you see
the guy
the
knows
mosque
Islam.
in Brighton, they have a one by the Libyan people. They the one that drive the one like a here. They the Libya. Ah, that one Yusuf Mosque. Clean.
I got
Obviously.
one in Rosendale too, Rosendale Square.
Brother. Oh, that the new one, Guinea. Is that Guinea people?
Yeah.
I think I got one in Rosendale.
Yeah.
We also got one up here, not too far from here, on Washington Street. It's a big garage. So like that too. Well, you know, against me, I've been Mr. Shalom. You told my show, this is not this. I got to do nothing. You know what? I see, believe it. Every now and then. That's how I listen, so I'll see the watch. That's how this is like 6 years ago. I'm counting. For the last 2-3 years, man.
But amen.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, I was with Paul yesterday at the Juma in East Boston. He's a Caucasian fellow. He knows you very well. He knows you as Peru. They're having a faith rally at Bedford Church.
Okay, right now, we're talking about this.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters downstairs and anybody else who, our good friend, Robert Dugan is an attorney, has, civil rights attorney has come. And Tariq is going to give his small presentation in about 5 minutes and then she will go on. You can call all of your friends that you know and tell them that this is being broadcast live. My brother's downstairs in the bookstore was able to watch it, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just tell them Mosque Praise Allah on YouTube.
On the
So
Facebook-
anybody you want to tell,
on a Facebook or
YouTube.
YouTube, Mosque Praise Allah on YouTube. You can actually watch it. So Mrs. Dugan's going to come up and I'm inviting the sisters to come up and all the brothers need to come up a little bit front so they can sit back there. All the brothers, this way.
Oh, you are not front.
All the
Sisters
brothers
gonna be back.
this way.
Sisters gonna be back there.
No problem.
You're not sleeping anymore.
Yeah.
If I get the rest, you start to get mad.
Still come up on.
Assalamu alaikum. Good stuff. Listen, there's gonna be a
All you have to do is
live
text it
broadcast on
to everybody.
Hmm?
He's
No,
coming here
that's
from the mosque. About
ICBC.
the rights.
You know, Imam,
legal rights.
ICBC.
Case
They
if
got a
there's a
website.
question you about anything.
So we can
You come
decide.
in. There's gonna be a lot of information that's gonna be very
And
important.
so, Brother Tark's gonna start his talking about,
What is
about
it?
5 minutes,
Okay,
inshallah.
On YouTube, is there any way to?
Mosque Praise Allah on YouTube.
Mosque Praise Allah.
MOSQUE space PRAISE space
It's
Allah.
coming on in a few minutes.
If anybody would like to have a handout about who Mrs. Dugan is and the great work that she's been doing over the years, she's a very pass them around, yes. Yeah, I'll go make a few
you're good. You're good. You do?
And you can all call your friends and tell them that call your friends and tell them that it's going live on YouTube right now. In case they want to.
Oh. That's all. So I don't need. Huh? That's all. No, I said. No, he was to make a call.
We had all this talk about you, and he didn't even come up with some one comment. He didn't bring. He didn't come out and Sultan. I'm so lost in the truth. I did lost you somewhere. You did lost me somewhere. You took me off. So, you didn't make any comment. I know I was sleeping, but when I wake up, it was 100 miles an hour.
I know it was.
I left you the zoo somewhere. Susan,
Yeah.
where was you? He was here. Okay, he attacked me.
This is
You got it. That was him, not me.
you have one already? Everybody have one? All of you have
I got one. I need one. Oh, I don't have it.
Man.
You have to take off your shoes. Put your shoes downstairs. Take your shoes, put them downstairs on the shoe rack. Bring another DVD for me. Before we get started, let me just just keep this really nice. I can remove them. All set? Oh, okay. As soon as it's ready, put this one back. It's great. Yeah. Just press the red for recording and it gets. Oh my God. Assalamu alaikum. So while we're preparing for this next portion of our little program this afternoon, I'd like to welcome Ms. Dugan and thank her immensely for coming out and spending some time with us and helping us to better understand what our rights and responsibilities and how we can best guard ourselves in very trying times during given the political, socio-political, economic climate this country and the world is facing. We as Muslims are particularly vulnerable. And she's going to come and explain to us some of the ways we can defend ourselves from being undone. Am I correct? So Barbara Dugan brings over 20 years of experience as a civil rights attorney in Boston. She was formerly director of the Project to Combat Racial Violence at the Boston Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, representing the victims of hate crimes, police misconduct, and discrimination in housing and public accommodations. Most recently, she ran the Massachusetts Office of Families Against Mandatory Minimums, whereas the Massachusetts Project Director, whereas the Massachusetts Project Director, her legislative, well, I guess she must have been the project director then, legislative advocacy helped to reform harsh drug sentencing laws that overwhelmingly impacted minority communities. She was one of the organizers of the 911 Legal Response Network in conjunction with the American Immigration Lawyers Association, the ACLU, and the National Lawyers Guild, where she presented Know Your Rights talks at mosques and developed attorney referral list and help hotline. Along with a team of attorneys, she litigated one of the first post-911 airline cases, Ashrafi versus American Airlines, on behalf of a U.S. citizen from Jordan. In 2010, Mrs. Dugan was named one of the top 10 women in law by Massachusetts Lawyers, Association. But before we have her, we're going to listen to our young sheikh, who is assisting me so immensely now in some of the responsibilities I have as the imam, and explaining how we can be invested in trying to be the best Muslims we can. We're trying to work towards a new beginning for ourselves here, and this is part of that. This is the first step. So he's going to be talking about that to you right now. And if you know anybody, just text them and tell them to go online. Mosque Praise Allah, we're actually live broadcasting. السلام عليكم. إن الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا ورسولنا الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وينفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم يجعل علمنا حجة لنا ولا حجة علينا. We begin by saying peace and praise on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and peace and blessings on the Prophet Muhammad. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us that which will benefit us and benefit us from that which He teaches us, and to increase us in knowledge. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He causes the knowledge that we obtain and gain to be a testimony for us and not against us on the Day of Judgment. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide and bless us all and raise our ranks and cause us to be together in the gardens. Ameen. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we, as everybody knows, we're speaking upon, as the Imam was, the Millah of Ibrahim and the importance of doing good deeds in these first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. These days wherein the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that ما من أيام العمل الصالح فيها أحب إلى الله من هذه أيام العشر. That there's no days where the good deeds done in it are better than the good deeds done in these 10 days. So we have a few more days left, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us our deeds, and we seek inshallah ta'ala to try to increase the deeds, as the Sheikh Abdul Rahman was speaking about earlier. This portion, we just want to really touch on the Hajj, the significance of the Hajj, the importance of the Hajj, the pilgrimage, and
What does it mean for us? What are the lessons derived and the symbolisms represented in the pilgrimage to Mecca? And how do we take that and apply it to our life? Within the Hajj, this pilgrimage to Mecca, there are many lessons to be learned, many experiences and wisdoms to be derived from this act of the Hajj. Actually, this Hajj, this pilgrimage, which is the fifth pillar of Al-Islam, combines within it the lessons of the religion entirely, which are three. The religion of Islam is represented in three parts, and that is, number one, the aqa'id, which is the fundamental beliefs, and the ibadat, the acts of worship that one does, and the akhlaq, or the suluk, which is the character, the behavior. These three things represent the entire religion: fundamental beliefs, acts of worship, and character in dealing with others. This Hajj combined and represent and show you these lessons in great detail. Now, the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he greatly encouraged all of us to make this Hajj, to make this pilgrimage to Mecca. In the hadith, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-Hajj al-Mabrur la jaza'an illa al-Jannah, that the acceptable Hajj has no less reward except Jannah. That when one goes and sacrifices his wealth and his time to make the pilgrimage to Mecca, then there is no less reward for it except the paradise. The Messenger ﷺ also encouraged us, saying that whoever performs this Hajj and he does not speak foully, nor does he commit acts of wrongdoing, and returns is as if he returns like the day his mother bore him. Means he will come out with a clean slate. We don't believe in original born into sin. We do believe that the lower self calls to sin and you have to struggle against it, but we're not born into sin. We're actually born pure, free, and then through our actions and our beliefs as we get older, decide whether we are sinful or righteous, right? So one making Hajj and not speaking ill or not committing lewd or immoral acts, then he will return as the day his mother bore him. Also, when a person comes into Islam, when a person accepts Islam and he testifies that there's no God but Allah and that Muhammad ﷺ is the last and final messenger, what is the next thing? The salah, the prayer. After he accepts or she accepts the testimonies of faith, then the next thing you teach that person is the prayer. And from the conditions of prayer, as a Muslim, is what? To face where? To face Mecca. To face the Haram al-Sharif in Mecca al-Mukarramah, the first altar that was built to God by the Prophet Abraham and Ishmael. May Allah be pleased with them. We're not worshiping the stone, right? It's just a focal point. So from the east to the west, to the north to the south, everyone in their respected countries, then they face Mecca to offer their prayer. So after they accepted to Islam and you teach them prayer, from the conditions of your prayer being accepted is that you face Mecca. So this is showing you, directing, attaching the heart to this place in the Middle East in Mecca. There are many lessons to be derived from this Hajj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَأَذَّنْ فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رَجُلًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ يَأْتُونَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ لِيَشْهَدُوا مَنَافِعَ لَهُمْ. That call them to Hajj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Ibrahim to call them to Hajj, call them to the pilgrimage, and will come to you, every man, walking, and by any means of transportation, and from all the surrounding countries and lands, and they will come for what? لِيَشْهَدُوا مَنَافِعَ لَهُمْ. So they can see the benefits that they have. And the benefits you have for Hajj is acceptance and the pleasure of your Lord, and also by doing transactions. People think that you cannot do transactions while on Hajj, but actually it is something that is legislated in Islam. You are allowed to buy and sell and do transactions while on Hajj. So you benefit from what? You benefit from the pleasure of your Lord, and you benefit by maybe doing some business transactions. And even now, when you go to the Hajj, there's no more connections that you can make. You meet people from all over the world. So this is a benefit for you. Testifying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala testifying to us in the Quran, and we're seeing the benefit. As we were promised that the Hajj that is accepted will have no less reward except paradise, and that your slate will be wiped clean, as well as the business transactions and the connections that you can make while being there, by meeting like-minded individuals, people from different parts of the world, and you might never lose their contact. As well as the meat that you eat, then it is of benefit. So one of the greatest lessons that must be understood, and after we talk about this, then I will tie it to how it affects us and what is our roles and responsibilities here. What is the symbolism of Hajj? What is the lesson it's teaching us? Because it's very deep and very rich. The greatest of lessons that one must understand from the Hajj is the ikhlas billahi bil ibadah, sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in worship. This is the most important, fundamental ideal that must be taken from the Hajj. All these rituals that are performed, circumambulating the Kaaba, throwing of the stones, praying behind the Maqam Ibrahim, doing the Ashraq bayna Safa wa Marwa, running between the two mountains of Safa and Marwa, all is to establish the remembrance of Allah and to worship Allah alone. And this is why the whole rituals and rites of Hajj is a representation and an honoring of our father Ibrahim, as he is the one who established this Kaaba. Of course, they've rebuilt it over the time. This is not the same Kaaba, but he built this altar to God with his son Ismail, and he was ordered to call the people to make Hajj, and that they would. And his generations later, we've seen that now 3 million to 6 million people now are in Mecca right now, which is not a city, to perform this Hajj. Another living witnessed miracle is that there's no time of the day, no day of the week, except there's somebody circumambulating the house. Think about that. Even times in that there's not Hajj, during the entire year, and you only go around it 7 times. Yet there's never a time where there is not someone circumambulating the house of Allah in Mecca. Every hour of every day of every day. So this is from the blessing, but the lesson that we derive from it, as the Imam was speaking to us about the millah of Ibrahim, the millah and the path and the way of Ibrahim, that he was a muwahid. He had the pristine monotheistic ideal. The pristine monotheistic ideal where he worshiped Allah alone and he turned away entirely from anything or anyone or any assumption of any type of deity or God. He turned away from all of these things and gave his self and his worship to Allah and God alone. This is the importance of the Hajj. As it comes in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَإِذْ بَوَأْنَا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ مَكَانَ الْبَيْتِ أَنْ لَا تُشْرِكُ بِهِ شَيْئًا وَطَهَّرَ بَيْتِي لِلطَّائِفِينَ وَالْقَائِمِينَ وَرُقَّعِ السُّجُودِ. Then, when we gave to Ibrahim the place to establish the house, and we inspired and said to him, لَا تُشْرِكَ بِهِ شَيْئًا, do not associate partners with me. So this is the idea. This is why all these ritual and rites that we do in the Hajj is a celebration of our father Ibrahim, is a celebration of our attachment to the millah of Ibrahim, this pristine, unapproachable, monotheistic ideal where we take no gods, no partners, no angels, no prophets except Allah alone. So everything we do in the Hajj is to establish this fact. Now this is important because nothing will correct the later part of this ummah except that which corrected the first part. As Imam Malik said, nothing will correct the later part of this generations and these communities except that which corrected the first generations. What corrected the Arabs, the Bedouin Arabs at the time, is their first acceptance of Tawheed. This is why when you take the two cloths and you pass over the Miqat, which is the station where you make your intention for the Hajj, what is the first thing that is said? Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. I am here to serve you. Oh Allah, I am here to serve you. I am answering your call. There's no sharik to you. There's nothing equal or partners to you. I am here answering your call. There is no partners to you. To you is all praise. To you only is worthy of all praise. To you is every provision is in your hands, and to you is the dominion over everything. I am here to answer your call. So the first thing you say is a statement of Tawheed, a statement of monotheism, rejecting any equals or partners or idols besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is the only one worthy of worship. Because, and it's very important that not only do we not bow down to any idols, or we don't call upon any dead, or call upon any righteous soul, no matter how righteous they are, but it's also important that we break the idols that is within. Remember the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that from the idols of his ummah, of his community, is the dinar and the dirham, is the money, the dollars and the cents. This is an idol. Your ego and your desires can be an idol. Have you not seen the one who takes as his ilah, his hawa? Have you not seen the one who takes as his God his own desires? Following your desires in disobedience to Allah is an undertoning of shirk, to associate a partner with God. This is why it is important to even struggle against the self, because the lower base desire that calls you to evil can be an association to Allah. So this is what? To have ikhlas. Ikhlas. This is the most important first point that you need to understand in the the Hajj, to have ikhlas and niyyah, to have sincerity of intention. The sincerity is everything. Sometimes you go on the Hajj, during the Hajj season, and you find a guy and he'll tell you, or a woman, and say, here, take this camera, take this picture for me. And then when they get in the picture, they go, are you ready? Take the picture. Holding up their hands, posing for the picture. After you snap the picture, then he puts his hands down. SubhanAllah. What is this? Then he did it to be seen because he wasn't even truly supplicating or calling out to his Lord. So ikhlas is very important because if you're doing it for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're doing it to be known, to be seen, for reputation, for consideration, for wealth, for position, for power. All these things that you let come in between you and your acts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, then this constitutes shirk, associating partners with Allah, even if it's minor. And it will render your deeds to be useless. It will render your deeds to be useless. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمْلُكَ وَلَتَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He revealed to us, to you, O Muhammad, like it was revealed to the nations before, that if you were to commit shirk with Allah, then you would have rendered your deeds worthless. And in the end, you will be from amongst the losers. So you see a person doing good deeds, and outwardly he's doing acts of worship. Maybe he went to the Hajj, but in his mind, when he returns back home, he just wants to be known as Haji Muhammad, Haji Abdullah. He wants to wear this badge of reputation. And then you did it for other than Allah. So the first thing, the entire reason why we honor our father Ibrahim is because he worshipped Allah alone and turned away from any other actions. Every good in this life stems from Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. And every evil, even sins, stem from shirk, associating partners with Allah. This needs to be understood and is the valuable lesson that first began to change the hearts of the early generations, is their attachment to Allah and Allah alone, and the fear of Him, and doing all their deeds for His sake only, and not for to be known or anything like that. And the second part of this Hajj, the second most important point, is that you do these acts in accordance to the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can't go over to Hajj and do your pilgrimage and you are not following the way that it was taught to you. You can't make up your own forms of worship. You can't just do what you feel. Rather, you have to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As he said, while he was making the Hajj, and people were watching him close, because the companions, they would always watch the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam very close. So while they were watching him close, and he's doing these acts of ibadah, and he said, لِتَأْخُذْ عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ, that you will take from me your rights in the Hajj. That you will take from me your rights in the Hajj. And then he said, because I do not know if I will ever make this Hajj again. So our rites and our rituals and our acts of worship and ibadah, they must be in accordance to the Sunnah. You must follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the first part of the acceptance of your ibadah, of your worship, is to be sincere, and that it's only for Allah. And the second part is that you do it in accordance with the way that the Prophet taught you to do it. Otherwise, it's not worship. It's not worship. You can be as sincere as you want. You can't run around your house as sincere as you want. Say, I'm gonna make 7 circles around my house and say Allahu Akbar. You know, being as sincere as you want. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not gonna accept that. The Prophet ﷺ was sent to show us what is the way to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the path and the acts of worship that we must do to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the Hajj, the Messenger ﷺ gave a talk. He gave a talk. So much so that the people's hearts were shaken and their eyes were filled with tears. And they said to the Messenger ﷺ, this sounds like this is like the last time you're speaking to us. He said, advise us. And then the Messenger ﷺ said, Usikum bi taqwa. I advise you to piety. I advise you to godliness, to righteousness, to fearing of Allah, to be conscious of the Lord, to be sincere in this. Usikum bi taqwa. Wa sam'a wa ta'a. And to hear and to obey. How many of us now really hear and obey? Now in our liberal society of America, you have people that they do what they want to do. Even when it comes to this religion of Islam, they do what they want to do. They follow their own desires. When it comes to they're sick, they go to a doctor. When it comes to their car being damaged, they go to the mechanic. But when it comes to their religion, everybody is a scholar. Or everybody understands. Everybody has his own opinion and his own idea. Sam'a wa ta'a. To hear and obey. Those who have been given the authority from amongst you. I've seen people even here, right in this masjid. The imam say something and they just look away and just do what they want to do anyway. There's no order, there's no structure. There can be no success like this. We have to understand this type of organization that is taught to us in Islam. And many people who are not Muslim are organizing, listening to those in authority from amongst them, hearing and obeying. Not for something that is in disobedience to Allah. We're talking about something that you are ordered to do, even you might not like it, but it's not disobedience to Allah, then you're supposed to follow it. Your imam, your parents, the officials, those in authority, officers, whoever has an authority. As long as they do not tell you to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it is upon you to obey them. The rulers of the land, the governors in charge, the officers of the law in charge. And I'm sure the attorney is going to enlighten us more, inshallah ta'ala, with regards to our rights and, when does things go too far and what limitations and what capacity can we choose not to talk and all this type of things. But the thing is, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. The Muslims was ordered to hear and obey. وَإِنْ كَانَ عَبْدًا حَبَشِيًّا. Even if it was a slave over you. Even if it was a slave who was in authority over you, hear and obey. So long as they do not order you to disobey Allah and His Messenger. Likewise, the imams in the community, or the imams in the masajid that you attend. It's not enough for you just to pray in the masjid and then go. So on the Hajj, the Messenger ﷺ said, now, أوصيكم بالتقوى والسمع والطاعة وإن عبدا حبشيا فإنه من يعيش منكم بعدي سيرون اختلافا كثيرا. For verily, those from you who live past this, beyond this, you will see great differing. فعليكم بسنتي وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين من بعدي. So upon you is my sunnah and the sunnah of my rightly guided caliphs. So this is the second part in the Hajj, that you just don't go there and everybody's not doing what they want to do. No, you go around the Kaaba with your left shoulder facing the Kaaba. And you follow these rites and rituals not because anything has such a special significance, but rather following the messenger to establish the remembrance of your Lord. So when you can, if you get to the black stone, then you can kiss it. What did Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, I know you have no benefit to me or no harm you can cause me. And if I did not see the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam kiss you, I would not have kissed you. So these acts, some of these ritualistic acts, they are just to establish the remembrance of Allah. Sometimes you go to Hajj and people, where they stone, people really think that the Satan is tied up to the stone. You see people throwing all kind of shoes and rocks and reciting special prayers on rocks and chucking it at the stone like a 90-mile-per-hour fastball or something. We are following the sunnah. We don't want to go beyond, but we don't want to fall short. We just want to follow the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in what he told us to worship. Because if you do something extra, then you're innovating. And if you fall short, then you didn't reach the mark. And the second part, the third part that I just want to talk about in terms of this Hajj. Now, people from all across the world, rich and poor, those in authority and those who are not in authority, those from this country and that country, different shades and different colors, all coming to one place, wearing the same or similar garbs and doing the same acts of worship. This is a lesson for us of the unity that is supposed to be. Now, I talked to you and I told you about ikhlas, tawheed. The first thing you say in the Hajj is what? Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Also, following the sunnah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لِتَأْخُذْ عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ, that you take from me your rights. And then, as the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, مَنْ أَتَى هَذَا الْبَيْتِ فَلَمْ يَرْفُثْ وَلَمْ يَفْسُقْ رَجَعَ كَمَا وَلَدَتْهُ أُمُّهُ. So the one who comes to this house of Allah, the Kaaba, and what? He doesn't speak foul, and he doesn't make sin, then he will return to from this Hajj as if the day his mother bore him. So what is this telling you? The suluk, the behavior, the akhlaq that you are supposed to have. Because when you're there, things are tight. Some people are losing their cool. That's why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave you this wisdom. He said, for those that do not speak foully, and for those that do not commit sins. Some people almost get into fights while they're there, cursing, swearing, because they lose patience. It's really hard. And upon the woman, you can imagine it's even harder. The Messenger ﷺ said this is their jihad. Going to Hajj is a jihad. You're cramped like this, people tight on. It can be an ordeal. It can be overwhelming for some. And I'm telling you, everyone gets tested with patience there. Everyone gets tested with their brothers and their sisters of how to deal with them. Some people are not, could be ignorant of what they're supposed to do, so they're interlocking and shoving past people. Some people are fighting to get to the black stone to kiss it, like a war zone. Kissing the stone is only sunnah, but safeguarding the right and the security of your brothers and sisters is wajib. So they're leaving off something obligatory to do something that's only recommended. So in this, what? To be patient. To not speak foul words, and to not act, even if someone acts ignorantly against you. Not to address it or follow it with ignorance as well. And this is what it is to be a community and to have unity. And this is what we need, and lessons that we need to take from the Hajj in our own self, that sometimes in our community, we might have some personalities that we don't agree with. We might have some type of actions from someone that rubs us the wrong way. but to be patient and not to speak foul words and not to act unjustly, even if they were acted ignorantly towards you, even if they spoke foul language towards you, for you not to respond with this foul language, for you not to respond with this evil actions, then this is what it is to create unity. And all these three lessons are found in the Hajj. And this is only what will correct our affair. The only thing that will correct our affair is the oneness of Allah and having pure tawheed and ikhlas, sincerity of intention. Not doing this for show, not letting our ego get in the way, not thinking we're somebody when we're not, to lowering our wing of humility to our brothers and sisters, to doing things for the sake of Allah, to not have any arrogance. Because if you have arrogance, then what? What is arrogance? Al-kibr.
You lose.
Batar al-haq. To reject the truth, wa ghammat al-nas, and to look down upon the people. So sometimes if you have this arrogance, you can't, that's ego. So you can't humble yourself. And this has something to do with your sincerity. Because if you were truly sincere, then you will be humble. You would. So in terms of ikhlas, which is tawheed, and number two, strictly sticking to the sunnah. As if you do acts that are not according to the sunnah, it can't be accepted. You have to follow the Messenger Muhammad. And being together as one group, which takes for us to have good character dealing with each other. Because we might not like everything they're saying. So this is what is taught to us in the Hajj. This is what is taught to us in the Hajj. And if we can do this, then this is the way we can have a true bond and true brotherhood and find true success. Be strict with our convictions, following the sunnah and banding together as one group. As the Messenger Muhammad said, Al-mu'min al-mu'min kal-bunyan yashadduhu ba'dahu ba'dah. That the believer to the other believers are like bricks to an establishment, each one strengthening the other. So something you need to understand here, kal-bunyan, like a building. That means if you are not together, nothing can be built, and you will find no strength. Yashadduhu ba'dahu ba'dah. And this takes us tawheed, and it takes us following the sunnah, and it takes us having good character dealing with each other. And these are the lessons that you learn in the Hajj that we must apply in our community in order to build, to strengthen, and to move forward.
Ameen.
And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to correct our understanding and increase us in knowledge and allow us to strictly adhere to the sunnah and to bring us together as one unit and one community, that we can have growth and development and render and usher in a new culture within our masjid. And as the Imam was saying, bidayatul jadid, and a new beginning. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Takbir.
Akbar.
I don't really think that we need a great deal of questions. I think it's about as clear as it can get. And I also want to make sure that we give our guests, our other guests, ample time to clearly lay out some good advice for us that I'm sure that we can all benefit from. So,
Can I just mention one thing about wudu during the prayer part? We didn't say anything about that.
What's that?
Wudu.
Wudu? Nah. Yes, because we weren't speaking about wudu, but of course wudu is a condition for your prayer to be accepted. Obviously you need to teach the wudu before you teach the prayer, and that's part of it being the prayer. I was just making the point of the first thing when you teach them the salat is you teach them where is the direction that we face. Though of course before they can actually perform the prayer, they would have to perform the ablution.
Can I clear the part about the
young man,
traveling?
I think we're going to move on. We can ask him some questions later on. He'll always be here. You're always here. But she is a special guest.
Yeah, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
So without further ado,
Yes.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, thank you the young Sheikh and for Ibrahim, Abdul Rahman, I got Ibrahim on my mind. He's going to be going away. We want to give him a blessed trip and a safe return to us all. Right now, I'd like to ask our good sister to come up and lay it on us. Inshallah, Sister Barbara Dugan, and like I said before, here's a bit of a profile of her. So anybody, move over a little bit, Tom. Move over a little bit, so nobody can get past. Move over a little bit. Sorry, move over a little bit. There you go, Miss Dugan. You want me to, if you need to tilt this microphone down a little bit.
I'll be sitting down probably, or
Okay.
standing up, we'll see.
Have any literature?
I never leave home without it. I have lots of things I thought we could share here. I just want you to know that the welcome here was so warm that, that your imam helped me park my car. So valet parking is very impressive. I've never experienced that before. It was very good.
Please take notes. I provided some notebooks, and if you need one, what I'd like you to do is to keep this notebook and make this your masjid notebook. I'd like to give it to you as a gift, but I'm replacing them for the school, so I want you to all give it all for the book. If you want one. And if you don't have it, then it's
Oh,
yours.
okay, someone's watching, this is good. It just,
What color would you like? Different colors.
before we get started, I've also got to pass around a sign-in sheet, not sign-in, but if you want to receive our emails and aren't on our list already, I only need one of these, I'll pass this around. I've even got pens for you here if you need them.
They all have pins. Please, if you like to meet people, contact us up to you.
I came with enough materials for a crowd of about 75, so you'll just bear with me. Thank you. So this is good. This is good. I came prepared to, not to talk to you, but to have a discussion with you about the subjects that you're interested in. Before we get started though, just several disclaimers. I mean, what I'm gonna talk about is the law. I feel very strongly that the law is only one tool in a very large toolbox that's available to us to help us make for healthier communities, lead our lives how we want, and seek justice. So I think sometimes people do elevate the legal system beyond what it deserves. So again, it's a tool in the toolbox, but by no means is it the only tool. It's a tool that answers some questions, leaves many others unanswered. It's a tool that sometimes helps us and sometimes doesn't. It's a tool that sometimes hurts us too, and sometimes doesn't. So I will do my best to answer your questions. You had said, that I'm here just for this afternoon. We're local, we're in Boston, our office, so, and my information is gonna be on a lot of the handouts, so we're always available to answer questions for you.
Could you please tell them a little bit about CARE? Very briefly.
Sure. CARE is the Council on American Islamic Relations. Our national office is in Washington, D.C. It was founded, I think, about 20 years ago. I know that when I was doing this kind of work after 9/11, CARE was who I turned to for help with a lot of the issues. There's chapters now. I think we have, it grows so fast that I can't keep up with it, but about 35 chapters around the country, because people are realizing there's a need for communities to come together and organize and have a voice to represent them. I like to think of us as a small but mighty Massachusetts chapter. There's 4 of us. Our executive director is John Robbins. who worked tirelessly to get this chapter up and running starting in 2015. I think that's right. We have a government affairs director, a wonderfully talented young woman who does our legislative work. We also, I mean, chapters decide to have different positions. I think our executive director and board was so smart in choosing to add on a youth empowerment worker, another one of my incredibly talented young colleagues. I love going to work because I see these young women, and it's the future. It's the future of what good advocacy looks like. So she works with young people. We decided that's the future of a healthy community, is to bring the young people on board and teach them the skills that they need to advocate for themselves and their community. Last weekend, they did 4 solid days with the first time we've done it, a Muslim youth advocacy program, which was 30 young people between the ages of, I think, 13 to 17, who were with us, well, not me, I was the only one who wasn't active in this, but the young folks were together 24 hours a day, and I came to like one event at the State House, and again, it just made my heart soar to look into this group and see the future. It was quite wonderful. And then in the end of 2016, I came on board as the chapter's first civil rights director. So what that means is I'm the staff lawyer, staff paralegal, staff intake worker, staff caterer if it needs to be done. There's just me, but we get wonderful support from a lot of other places. So that's what CARE does. We're much more than just a legal office, which it makes us for a much richer environment, I think. It's very much committed to enhancing understanding about Islam, and also, again, making young people proud of their community and doing a lot of other kinds of outreach work. But I do the legal stuff. So that's who and what CARE is. In terms of things we could talk about today, it's up to what would be useful to you. I will tell you what I'm not competent to talk about, because that's only fair. I don't do immigration law. It's an entirely separate creature, and you don't advise people on immigration issues unless you know it. So if you have immigration questions, I can certainly get someone who can speak to you, but it won't be me. The subjects that I thought for a Boston community would be useful, I have materials, and again, we can also try and do other things too if it works. But on harassment, whether it's by other people on the street or in your home or school or wherever, as well as police officers. I mean, it doesn't really matter what color someone's clothing is when they're doing things to you. Your rights in the workplace. If the FBI comes to pay you a visit, that happens a lot in Boston. And public accommodations, what I call public places and public spaces, your right to go to any store or any other public place or use any other public facility that everybody else can. And then when it comes to policing, I mean, we could talk all day about that issue, and it might be even appropriate for a follow-up program if you really want to work on that. I brought a handout on youth and police, because I think that's where we see the critical interplay, and especially teens, who are trying to learn how to live independently and stretch their wings. I'm a parent, we all know that phase, but we have to keep them safe during that period. And also, the right attitude and respect goes so far. So I have a handout on that. What sounds good? What sounds interesting? Or what sounds necessary?
How to respond when the police stop us.
The one thing I don't have a handout on, but that's okay. Well, and we have till 5 o'clock. I mean, I can stay as long as you need me. You might have to like turn off the microphone at some point and tell me to go home, but do you want me to look at the next hour?
Yeah, we pray in 45 minutes, but after that, you can still.
Okay,
Because I'm
okay.
going to try to give them some food, so they'll probably stay as
Yes,
long
I don't
as-
want to exhaust you too much.
Well, whatever, we'll just tap into them and ask them how they feel, and we'll go out like that, okay?
How to deal with the FBI name, so
Yeah, that's it. Can we do that one first, just because it's an easy one? The answer is don't. The other ones I will tell you are more interactive. They're little quizzes for you so that you can go through these yourselves. But
Somebody, can you help pass, just give it to us, pass it off for me?
Just take one and pass it around.
So to state the obvious, CARE and the rest of the Muslim community doesn't want to see any, harm come to anyone, and we believe you should go to law enforcement if you have knowledge of some imminent threat to public safety. We all get that, despite what you may hear in other quarters. But something is happening in the last, 10 to 20 years that's I didn't expect to see it happening again, I will say, in my lifetime. That bio makes me sound much younger than I am. But to have federal law enforcement agencies come to the homes of Muslims who are just leading good, normal lives and ask them to answer questions about their religious beliefs, the beliefs of the person sitting next to you here this afternoon, family members, your imam and others, or your political beliefs. Maybe I'm naive, but I did not think I would see that in my lifetime. We heard about some of that during the McCarthy era, but a lot of us thought that was, that was then, this is now. In fact, that is what's happening. I'm not gonna put anybody on the spot unless they want to talk about it, but the FBI does come to visit a lot of folks in this area and around the country. The visits are probably a little less aggressive than in some parts of the country here, but that doesn't make them any less worrisome. Our position is this: if the FBI shows up at your door, you should very politely decline to speak with them, get a name and number, call us, and we will call for you to find out what they want to talk to you about. They may actually want to ask you a question that is necessary about identifying someone, or there could be a legitimate reason. I will just tell you that when I make those calls back, I say, hello, my name is Barbara Dugan from CARE, and I'm calling the cell phone of an FBI agent named Fred, because they oftentimes don't seem to have business cards on them. My client just wants to know what it is you'd like to speak with him about. Because if it is legitimate, then the client can make an informed decision. No FBI agent has ever called me back. Now, I'm not that scary. So, what do you think that tells us? They're not coming because there's a specific thing they're looking for. It always bothers me when someone calls me to tell me that the FBI came to the door, and then I find out they're calling me after they've had this lengthy conversation. And the very understandable response is, I haven't done anything wrong. So why should I be hesitant to talk about, myself, my views, my community, my mosque, or, the country I came from, especially folks who immigrated from other countries. And I always say that the FBI knows you haven't done anything wrong. If somebody thought you had done something wrong, the contacts you'd be having with law enforcement would look very different. They'd look very different. And if you were in trouble, you would be getting hauled in before a grand jury, or something along the lines of a criminal investigation would be going on. But when they just show up at your door, and I've had people tell me, say, oh, I just kind of want to know what you think about what's going on back in Pakistan. Well, go read a Pakistani newspaper, with all due respect. So these are, efforts to see if there's something that can be dug up. And when I'm telling you this, I'm not, trying to, criticize the entire FBI, because we also turn to them. Is that me, the feedback? We turn to them when we have instances, when we get threats or when our clients get threats. But this function of the FBI is just nothing that's going to do you any good. There's no benefit to you to have those conversations, and there are way too many risks for something bad to happen. On the handout there, I talk about the video that a different organization did, Muslim Advocates. It's really good. They also have a scenario showing at the airport. But it's useful because they're asking questions, and then when, the typical thing was like, tell me about him. And then you say, well, I don't really know that guy. And they'll say, well, that's funny. Weren't you seen sitting next to him at, 5 p.m. on August 18th? Lying to a federal agent is a federal felony. So what happens is people try to hem and haw their way out of these conversations, and they dig a hole for themselves. When you are in that position, you have been compromised, and you're vulnerable to being pressured to do other things. And it's common for people to be pressured to become informants in their own community. When we go into large gatherings, and I don't know about you, but we sort of assume that there may be somebody who's, doing that. We don't know. Nothing, I'm going to tell you here is secret, or I would be ashamed for it to be known. But there's probably no good that will come of it for you. So that's our position on that. Sometimes I need to know when to just stop on that one. Is that clear? Do people have questions about that? Or does anyone want to share an experience they had like this? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I think behind you, the hand was up first.
Oh.
Yeah, I was wondering if did they have to do a study on the percentage of the informants that could be in any given congregation?
No, because nobody knows. Nobody knows who the informants are. I'm sorry, and you hand up?
Yeah. I want to make sure the FBI service, like you say, you come from Washington, D.C., and here you have offices as well in Massachusetts for care staff.
Yes, I'm from the Boston office.
You're from the Boston
Yes.
office. You say sometimes you call and they happen to return your call. I hear you back, you say maybe they're not interested. But I have another idea. Sometimes I don't think they're interested, but because when they hear the lawyer, first of all you say you're a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
You
I see I'm from CARE,
You're
Massachusetts.
from care. And then they know you're gonna escalate it, polemic,
Please make your questions concise
Okay.
and not lengthy.
All right. So,
Okay.
so I sometimes they know they're gonna rule it no matter what. You just a lawyer, right? But the law is there. They got their law. FBI work with the government, right? It's another entity. But since have you been in those cases where you was just a part of the scenario?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you couldn't do anything, the law had to rule anyhow. Can you give us one of the examples and how it happened? Something like
So what is the question? An example?
I don't understand what you're saying.
that. I say,
Well, make it brief. What is it?
Is it something, can you give us a story that we can get an example to understand your service?
Okay.
How is that active into this.
In terms of an FBI
In
visit?
terms of the Muslim society, and how is he acting? An example, concrete, a concrete example.
I can't, okay, I think he might be asking.
A much larger question? are
No,
you
no, it's a
asking?
smaller question. What is he saying? Can you give us an example of somebody that was that they came to you and, you know, so, a small
Yes, sir.
picture?
Yeah.
Of Viñedo, because they came to you and said, listen, so the police, the FBI called me, and this.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. I
okay.
mean, and they usually look quite similar. Oftentimes, these are people who have traveled overseas. They've already had a hard time at the airport. And totally unexpected, knock, knock, knock. They usually is 2 FBI agents come to the door. I mean, sometimes they will come, it depends what city you're talking about too, when they know that the husband is at work and the wife is home and maybe thinking she'll be more intimidated. But in this case, it was a businessman that goes back and forth quite a bit, and said, you know, we just want to talk to you about the situation in Pakistan. That was actually a real example. Which is an odd thing, because they're not just wanting to talk in generalities. And so and again, when he asked for a name, this was a woman, gave him a cell phone number. You always get a cell phone number, and a first name. I don't know if it was even her first name. Claimed she didn't have a business card. I mean, I know they're cost cutting, but really. And so that's what I did. I called back, and that's that example I gave. This is Barbara Dugan from CARE, and you know, I'm calling on behalf of so and so. And if, you know, he's interested in knowing what it is you want to speak with, and then he'll make a decision whether he wants to talk to you. So I think the whole point, maybe the most important thing, is that it's totally up to the person who's visited whether they want to have that conversation. The ones I've had, they have never returned my calls, which leads me to think that these were just fishing expeditions. I do know other lawyers where the FBI has called them back, and they were seeking a very specific piece of information. And the person was willing to have a very brief conversation with them to help out with that piece. But they tend to look a lot alike, these sorts of situations. I hope that's a good answer.
I think so.
There any scenarios about elderly people getting things in the mail, asking a bunch of questions?
I haven't heard of that, have you?
Well, I did get something in the mail, and they had a list of things that they wanted me to answer.
Okay, who was this from? He said he got
This
something
was
in the
from
mail that,
Washington, D.C.
was this like a census type?
Yeah, it was like a census thing. And then when they asked for some money at the end, that's when I knew it was like,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
that's called taxes. They don't ask you to pay those. So that was coming from some organization that was clearly, you know, some of those, I used to deal with my elderly father's mail, and he got on all sorts of mailing lists. And, I mean, he was like in his 90s, and you could see why he didn't understand that these were not, he didn't have to answer these questions. He didn't have to send them money. That's when I took over, you know, the checkbook. But, yeah, the FBI is not going to send you something in the mail. And if you're going to be subpoenaed, you'll probably get that delivered to you. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Attorney Barbara, but so what can you tell us, fishing expeditions, what exactly are they fishing for, and what are their goals when they do this? What are they looking for, or what are they trying to do?
Well, it's all based on the assumption that, you know, Muslims are dangerous and, I guess, prone to terrorist activity. So everything is to see what you can dig up, anything. And also, if you can get somebody really jammed up who's told you things that aren't true, you know, they may be useful as an informant. Here's an example for you. One person who called us, he was from Bosnia, and he was being, I mean, really courted by the FBI, kind of nice at first, and they were pressuring him more. And what it looked like to me is that they had very few people to give them information about things going on in Bosnia. And they said, and in his case, they said, well, you know, we can help you out with your immigration status. And so sometimes people will find